Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep with your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Hope you all had a great weekend. Spencer Israel, Joel Elconin, Dennis Dick with you on Pre-Market Prep. I got my mic fixed today. We're all good. What's on our radar today? Well, this is going to be like the biggest earnings week of the season. It starts tonight with Tesla. We'll preview that. We'll maybe preview some of the other reports we're going to get later on in the week, but it's going to be an earnings week across the board. We got to talk crypto here. Big moves over the weekend. We want to talk about the idea of being bullish crypto and Bitcoin, but at the same time, bearish a stock like Coinbase and how that could possibly be. Got some NFT movers this morning. SJ is your NFT play of the day. We will take questions from our chat as well. And two guests on the docket today. First up, Tim Quast will join us at 8:35. He is the founder and CEO of Market Structure Edge. And Matt Hammond from IPO Warriors will preview the week in IPOs and recap last week for us at 9 o'clock. Before I throw it to Joel, today's show is sponsored by Market Structure Edge. It is the first decision support platform for traders built on market structure. Try the new way to trade for free at marketstructureedge.com. The link is up on the screen. Go ahead and smash that like button. Tell us you love us by hitting the little thumbs up there. We appreciate that. Joel, how was your weekend? And how are we doing overnight here?
Excellent weekend. You never called me to go out there and hit some golf balls.
It's because I never actually got out there, but I will call you when I actually.
And it was a little bit chilly too there. Yeah. We closed, but by the dippers overnight, we're down $1.25 here at 41.70 1/4. Got some good levels up on the upside and the downside. Crude, that's trading down a stick at 61.14. Kind of a 3-4 day trading range here. That's pretty interesting. Gold, that's in the red by $1.70 at 1776.10. Only a $10 range in that. Still trying to clear 1800. Silver clinging to $26. That's up not much, just 0.01 cent here, 4%, 26.085. And Bitcoin, y'all could thank me for Bitcoin being up $2,875 at 53,720 because someone construed a bearish tweet of mine as bearish. Perfect double bottom in there, folks. 47,400, 2 lows in a row. That's it. That's your level on the downside. Excellent level on the upside to keep an eye on. We could talk about that a little bit later on. Triple D, we were talking about Coinbase, and I mentioned, Bitcoin was up this morning. I noticed the 4 a.m. open in Coinbase has turned out to be the low. And we talked about the correlations between trading Bitcoin and Coinbase. You had an interesting take on that.
Let's get into that in just a second. Breaking news.
Breaking news. What do we got?
Merger Monday. Merger Monday.
Another merger Monday.
Proof point going off the board. Cash deal. Bravo.
Yep. Toma Bravo. I don't know. Is buying proof point for $176 per share in cash. PFPT.
It is halted right now. If you're wondering why it is not trading higher, otherwise I would be lifting the 140 and the 146 and the 150 and the 155 and the 160. But it is halted right now, so it is going to open significantly higher once it comes out of the halt. They halted it just before 8 o'clock. This is the way they should do it. And when they announce these mergers, I hate it when they just announce and they don't halt the stock first, because then everybody gets picked off. The HFT algos make it all. It's the best way to halt the stock, and then investors overnight who, might have an order sitting out there, obviously don't get picked off. So I don't know why companies want to announce major news like that and not halt the stock first. So bravo to Proofpoint for doing it the right way. Halt the stock, then obviously announce the news. And we can see here, $176 in cash. So I'd expect this to trade up, 173, 174 probably. Risk guards put a couple point discount on it. But when it comes out of the halt here, PFPT, congratulations to the Bulls.
So Dennis, wait, how does that work? So the proof point would call the exchange and say, hey guys, halt us for a second?
Yeah.
Okay.
Halt pending news. So call the exchange, get it halted instead of just breaking the news, because you see it go both ways. And I've been picked off. I got picked off during the Celgene merger when it got announced. And what I mean by picked off is that an order out there trading it actively, get short the stock, and boom, you're picked off. So, if you're trying to do any type of, you have orders out there pre-market, the HFT algo is just, boom, it's gone in milliseconds on a news like that. So halt the stock, give everybody a chance, normal traders, human beings who might be out there, actually there's a few humans left, to actually move our orders, or, we get the price improvement now, because it's not going to open. Like there's some orders I can see in the book, somebody's offering 100 shares at 140.47. Well, that person, if they didn't halt the stock, would be sold right now at 140.47 and missing out on $3,600. So that order is going to end up getting filled significantly higher when it reopens. Even if they don't move that order, the order will get price improvement because it'll get where the opening print goes, depending on the exchanges and stuff, because there's obviously multiple openings. But it's going to get a significantly higher price than that because they halted it. So I always like to see them halt the stock before they get. I got picked off on Safeway too. When it got announced that it was getting taken over. I think it was Safeway. Oh no, it's Super Value? Safeway? Anyways, one of the grocery stores. I think it was Super Value.
Super value.
Yeah, I know. I got picked off and sold the stock at 21, and then it's taken over at 32. And I was like, well, that sucks. Halt the stock, and don't pick me off. And then it gives me a little bit more to provide liquidity out there. If you're going to just allow me to get picked off on mergers, maybe I don't want to provide any liquidity. So there you go. So
breaking news: Dennis fails to mention all the time he picks people off on a daily basis.
I'm not that fast, man.
Yeah,
I'm not fast enough anymore. I'm getting old. I'm not as fast as I used to be. Not as good as I once was.
2 questions: Who's taking them over?
Thomas Bravo.
Thomas Bravo.
Thomas Bravo.
Bravo.
Thomas
Bravo.
T. What's the
big
symbol?
bucks? Big money, no whammy.
There was no symbol.
They're not traded publicly.
Oh, okay. What? I'm not really familiar with Proofpoint here. Is there anything moving in sympathy with it?
It's not Thomas. It's Thomas.
Thomas the Train. Thomas the Train, I think. We'll start bad rumors here now. Thomas the Train taking over.
Can you address Fran's case comment? No, not necessarily that they're going to be halted till the open, right?
We could go, okay, cool. Go to NASDAQ halts. So if you want to show the site, if you always want to know when it's going to come out, just quickly Google NASDAQ halts. You'll see current halts, and you'll see the information there. So they halted Proofpoint, if you go to that site, at 7:55:02. Announced the merger. Reason codes is T1, T2, T3. We know it's for news. Resumption quote time, when they're going to allow it to start quoting again, 8:25. Resumption trade time is 8:30. So we know it will reopen for trade at 8:30, and it will probably open, I am predicting, around 172 or 173.
A little bit about, yep.
They give a little bit of a discount usually. You know what? Sometimes they actually think, somebody will give a better deal, and they take it all the way to 176.
That could happen. I mean, aren't they still...
We saw with Glue Mobile, so it might, but if it goes all the way to 176 and I was long it, I'd ring the register. Just like when Glue Mobile got taken over, I was like, okay, I'm just ringing the register. It went up to like $13. It was a $12.50 cash takeover price. People are so greedy. They're like, wow, well, maybe somebody else comes and buys Blue Mobile.
Yeah,
I don't know if anybody's coming by in Proofpoint.
What about Kansas State University? KSU.
KSU has the fight in there. You're right. CP, CNI, both fighting for Kansas City Southern. So the fight still continues. KSU was saying this morning, it's Merger Monday, it must be, that their CP isn't a bad deal. So they didn't actually say no, or to CNI, because CP was the first one. They didn't say no. So we still are trying to find out more information. We don't know, but CP and CNI, the two Canadian big rails, fighting for Canadian, or going to be Canadian Southern, but we'll call it Kansas City Southern.
I just want to add, if you have Benzinga Pro, you don't even need to go to a third-party site.
There you go.
All information is right there.
How do you do that in Pro? I didn't know that. Show me.
I'm okay. That's a good idea.
Show me how to do that, because I did not know you could get that in Pro. You guys have everything in there.
Yeah. What about Proofpoint?
I don't have to go to NASDAQ Trader anymore.
This is your Pro homepage. You go to your signals tool.
Yeah.
Bada bing, bada boom. You say, you halts. Let's go to my halts filter.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, bada bing, bada boom.
Boom. It's there for you.
2 clicks.
Nice. Halt to shares to resume at 8:30. They thought of everything, these Benzinga Pro developers.
Thought of all of it.
Geniuses.
Joel's asking about what trades are Proofpoint. Other cyber. I don't know.
I don't even.
It's a tough one. Let's go take a look. I'm see what I've got. I'll see what I can find for you. Proofpoint sympathy.
Other I don't know. Let's see.
Isn't Proofpoint? Isn't it cybersecurity though?
It's a cybersecurity play. So maybe like a CyberArk or
yeah, that's got a little uptick there.
Well, it's part of Hack, I believe. So you're going to see Hack trading higher, which it is.
FireEye.
How is FireEye doing? Hack got a nice bump.
Yeah,
there.
FireEye's lifting. What about Palo Alto's a big one? So probably not going to CyberArk, CYBR. It's got a $3 left.
Maybe like Norton LifeLock and LOK.
That's a smaller one. NLOK. Small, not much happening there yet. All interesting. Yeah. So those are the ones I'd go with too. I mean, yeah.
What's LifeLock? LOCK?
And it's NLOK.
I'd say CyberArk.
Jeez,
CYBR. It's up $3 in bid there, 146. So that and FireEye too. FireEye, nice 3% pop here. So you're getting a little lift here. I don't know if we're going to see lots of mergers in this space, but it's an attractive space. I mean, cybersecurity is not going away. It's not a fad. So
what was the one that was responsible for that? The big hack not too long ago.
That was SolarWinds. That was
what's
SWI.
that?
Yeah.
Funky symbol Monday. I can't even
you got to know these group. So
yeah.
Anyway, nice lift for a few stocks in the sector. Let's just go look at what Hack is. So let's just see how many. I know it's in Hack. Do we have the percentage?
So I do, but it's only 2.5% of Hack.
It's very small.
It's 5% of Bug. You want to go to Bug, BUG.
Bug.
Yeah.
That's a nice symbol. That's a good one too. It's 5% of Bug.
Yep.
Oh, so there you go. So 5% of Bug, and it's getting, so you do your quick
Where's
math.
it bid at? Yeah.
Yeah, what is that? 40%?
27.60?
20, 25, 30% premium.
So Fortinet,
5, it's not much.
Fortinet, CrowdStrike, maybe, Zscaler. There's a few more names to consider.
You're reaching a little bit more with those. They're not. So the more pure plays, I would say your FireEye, your CyberArk. Palo's that's one of the biggest in the space. So it's probably not going to get a lift because who's coming and acquiring a Palo? So I would think FireEye, CyberArk right away. Those are the two I would think.
Okay. Okay.
So back to the Bitcoin conversation.
Yeah, let's go back to the Bitcoin thing. So Joel put out this tweet that we can't seem to agree on the sentiment being conveyed here. I'm going to pull it up. Joel, this is a positive tweet?
Wait. We have another merger.
Oh my lord, what is going on here?
I didn't know about this one. Did you know about this one? GRA? Christian Fromhertz is tweeting it out. I just saw a tweet from Christian. I was just closing Twitter up actually, and then I see a merger. GRA? Is this right? Is this confirmed?
GRA. I do see it. Standard.
I've got a Christian. Yeah, Standard Industries. It's in the pro at 8 o'clock to acquire Grace.
Really?
I had this stock in my portfolio for a little while. Not anymore.
All right.
Obviously not anymore. I'd be
I hope there's no typos in my tweet.
GRA. I'm going into the headline here from the pro. $70 in cash. Another cash deal.
Not too much. Not too much of a premium.
It represents okay, so I guess this was rumored already, maybe, because it says the purchase price represents a premium of 59% over Grace's closing price on November 6, 2020, the last day prior to the announcement of 40 North's initial proposal. So I don't follow Grace very closely, but I guess there was already a deal potentially on the table here. So I guess, you do see them coming and trumping them.
There it is.
So that's where they're getting that from. But $70. So it's at 68.36 here right now. They have offered $70 in cash for GRA. Merger Monday.
Wow.
Monday. Sorry.
They think about it over the weekend, and then someone's working weekends.
Yeah, not me. Other than buying Ethereum Friday, but that was Friday afternoon. So,
let's talk about that. What prompted that?
Well, I've been talking about it for a week on the show that I want to buy Ethereum. I want to trade my Bitcoin in for Ethereum. It's probably been talking about it for a month, and finally, I was like, we got the pullback, wanted a dip. We got a nice dip on Friday. We know overnight Ethereum was trading down 10%. I'm like, okay, so I didn't go all in. I went part of the way in just to hodl some, and I'm like, I'm going to buy a little bit on this dip because I want to participate now in Ethereum. I was actually hoping it would come lower so I could buy more, but I bought a piece, and I went through an ETF in Canada because we have multiple ETFs in Canada. I actually was asking, I believe I asked on Twitter, I asked on the chat for some Ethereum ETF tickers, and I'm trying to find the person who gave it to me. Somebody gave it to me.
There are a couple. There are now, I think, 4.
Yeah, there's a bunch of Ethereum ETFs in Canada. So, and I'm sorry, I cannot find the person who gave this to me. And I feel, actually, it's Harry. So Harry on Twitter gave me, thank you, Harry. He gave me 3 symbols, ETHH, ETHX, and ETHR. These are obviously traded on the Canadian Stock Exchange. Threw a little bit in my retirement account. I don't even know which one I bought. Let's go look. I bought ETHX, and I bought the .B version because that's in the Canadian dollars, and I'm Canadian. I bought it at 10.22. It actually closed on Friday at 10.90, so I was already up. This was the first time I looked at it. I was already up 6% on Friday, and then we're getting a little pop here overnight again, Ethereum. So far, so good with my Ethereum investment. Buy the dip, working. Look at that. Are you guys still there, or just doing the show by myself?
Back to Joel's tweet, though.
Yeah, back to my tweet. No typos, I hope.
What happened?
No.
Oh, yeah, your tweet.
This tweet. So, Joel, maybe you can explain.
He's telling us this is a bullish tweet.
I guess this is bullish. Yeah, as
I construed this as a bearish tweet.
I said, if it takes out 47.5 and it already opened, I mean, I'm rounding numbers here. It already opened at the dead low for the session. So I was thinking, if it's not a double bottom, you could see 45K. So I'll see how you can construe it that way. But you know what I'll do? I just won't give my opinions anymore. And everyone can just do.
We upset him with this.
That's what we're going to do. I'm just going to agree with everything that you and Spencer say.
He likes to be right.
That's what I'm going to do. Whatever you got. I'm buying. Wait, hold on. I got to buy
upset Joel.
I got to buy 100 million Ethereum.
I tweeted at him, I'm glad you're not a Bitcoin trader.
I'm going to buy 100 million Ethereum right now.
He's so mad.
Sell the rip.
Mad at me. He was so mad at me this morning.
So
we all get it right and wrong. I was like, that sounded pretty bearish. I was like, it went straight up since that.
No more opinions. No more opinions.
We're sorry, Joel.
No
we didn't
more
want to
opinions
upset you this morning.
I'm gonna no more opinions. No more opinions. Go ahead.
I didn't say anything. He's mad at you. I have no problem.
I
I have no
just
opinion.
stirred it a little bit.
No one.
Stirred the
Everyone's
pot.
a genius. You know what? This is a bull market.
Everyone's a genius.
You know what? We did that. You know, our show got popular when the market was going down, right? And now the market's going up. No one needs us anymore. We should probably just cancel the show until the market starts going down, because everyone's a genius. Dennis is a genius. Spencer's a genius.
I screw
Mitch
up a lot
is a
of
genius.
trades.
Jason's
I
a
screw up
genius.
all the time.
I guess I'm the only one that has losing trades in all of Benzinga.
That's why it's
of Twitter.
okay. It was
That's
okay.
bud.
It's okay
All
to
right.
have a loser.
Let's talk some stocks. So Dennis and
Anyways,
Spencer can give their
apparently
opinions.
though, it was if, and it didn't take it out. So I should have read
Thank
the if.
you.
I didn't get the F, so it wasn't quite bearish. But you know what? I think maybe you have some Reddit followers or something, because they got mad at you on that tweet, because they started buying Bitcoin at 6 p.m. right when you tweeted that out, and they did not stop. Bring up the chart of Bitcoin. It did not stop.
I'm getting a lot of love in the chat. I am getting a lot of love in the chat here.
So we got to circle the little spot where Joel put out the tweet. It's right here.
It's right.
And it is like big green bar, big green bar, big green bar, crawl, 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 big green bar, crawl, crawl,
That's
crawl.
why you should listen to the Sunday night show. That's why you
I did listen to you for a while. Anyway, 47,000 to 54,000. What a rally in Bitcoin, just when everybody's ready to throw in the towel. Because I had another buddy of mine saying, Carter Worth was on CNBC, and it started with Carter. Carter Worth on CNBC Friday night. He did his technical analysis where, he draws his little pictures and stuff. And he said this is going to 40,000. So this was trading around 49 at the time. This was Friday night. Anyways, Carter, that was clearly, I think Carter Worth, I don't know how he's going to spin that, but I'm pretty sure that was a bearish chart when he said, I think it's going to 40,000. It's hard to spin that one. So I think Carter might be wrong on this one. 53,000. I'm a hodler of Bitcoin. I'm a hodler of Ethereum. I don't know anything about the technicals. There is no fundamentals, except on Ethereum there kind of is. So I'm a hodler of both of these now. I put these in a retirement account. We know I sold half my Bitcoin when it just over doubled, and I said forever playing with the house's money. Not the case with Ethereum, because I'm getting new money in there. I didn't flip from Bitcoin to Ethereum. I'm just in Ethereum. So hodling both of those now.
You know what? I almost included Reddit on that. Can you imagine if I would include Reddit?
It'd be 60,000 right now. They'd be
easy.
like, this guy, this Joel, we're gonna nail him.
Yeah,
and they read it wrong. And be like, ha ha.
Reddit guys. I should have included them. I got the Saturday Night Live. Oh,
you know have the if in there. I'm gonna give you props for the if.
Yes, thank you. And he's going. Elon's going to be on Saturday Night Live.
When is that?
Do you guys have that in Canada?
Do we have a
Saturday
date?
Night Live?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we have Saturday Night Live. What's the date on that one?
May 8th.
May 8th.
All right, right in your calendars. I mean, maybe Doggy Coin on May 7th.
Is this a tradable event?
I would think so. Yeah, I think so. I think you get long the crypto a couple days before, maybe, and to the Elon Musk. But you had to sell it. Not maybe. I don't know. It's interesting. Do you sell before, or do you actually hold it through the Saturday Night Live
while he's on
next morning? Yeah, it's open. You're right. You could take it to Saturday.
You know what? Maybe we'll do
that. You got 24-hour trading in crypto.
Let's do a Saturday night show when he's on, and we will
long the Doggy Coin on the Thursday night and sell it into the Elon Musk pump on the Saturday night. I don't know.
It's 0.00406 bid. Oh, it's 0.00407 bid. Oh, 0.0048 bid. That would be the quoting of it.
Johnny in the chat saying Snoop Dogg's on The Voice tonight. So there you go. He's on The Voice. Be talking the doggy coin, doggy style.
Wait. So
the show is off the rails right now. Bring us in.
You're off the rails.
Wait, hold on a second. So back to the original point, though, which was that Dennis is bullish Bitcoin, but he's not bullish Coinbase.
Yes. That was only 21 minutes ago. Go ahead.
We started that.
Maybe you can explain that a little bit.
Well, we've explained before. So if you're going to say, okay, well, if Bitcoin goes higher, Coinbase is going to go higher. On any given day, probably true. But over the long run, we know Coinbase is a company, and that's obviously based on a lot of factors. Why I don't want to own Coinbase long-term, sorry, Kathy Wood, is because I believe steep competition is coming for Coinbase. Now, the story might carry it for a while because competition is still a little ways away. But we know eventually you're going to see crypto traded probably on all the major exchanges. And once that starts happening, the spreads are going to tighten significantly for Coinbase. So you can't just extrapolate the current money that Coinbase is saying, and if they grow the users by X amount, that's going to be how much money they're going to make. It's not the case, because the spreads are going to narrow. You're not going to be picking up these sweet 0.5% spreads or 1% spreads on some of these other crypto coins, because they're going to be traded. I'm predicting it now. They're going to be traded on the public exchanges eventually. And if you go there, I mean, we already see obviously Bitcoin futures. So I think you're going to see competition coming for Coinbase. Is it going to be the place to go always? Maybe, but they're still going to have to tighten those spreads, because if you can trade a tighter spread on a public exchange as opposed to on Coinbase, you're probably going to go to where you get the better price. Money will naturally travel to where the spreads are tighter. So that's why I'm not bullish Coinbase, even though I'm long Bitcoin and Ethereum. So you can also look at Mara and Riot. Why don't you just own all those? Well, if you look here, you've got Ethereum trading near highs. Dogecoin was making new highs. Bitcoin is not that far off of highs, maybe 15, 20%. And you can look at Mara, and it is now, we're talking, it's up 35 this morning, but you're talking almost 20 points off the highs from $55 stock, 35, 40%. Riot. You could say these are levered plays, but at a certain point in time, they're miners, they're businesses, and you got to start looking at them from a different perspective. There's definitely a positive correlation between the price of Bitcoin and the price of Riot, but it's not going to be perfect, because there is company effects, and there's other companies that are going to be mining. There's other businesses. It's going to be competition for them too. But the reason that I'm concerned about owning Coinbase is I do not believe that the current wide spreads will be there in 3 to 5 years. I don't even know if it's going to be there in a couple of years. I think competition is going to be coming. So if you're bullish Bitcoin and Ethereum, I just buy Bitcoin and Ethereum.
All right, that's a pretty succinct point, I think. Yeah, and I would agree wholeheartedly. I'm bullish Bitcoin. I don't own any Bitcoin stocks.
It's why I'm actually bearish real estate brokers too. And obviously we've got 4 or 5% commission. They got this housing bubble, and it's like, holy mackerel, these guys are still making 5%, 2.5 in or 2.5 out. I'm like, that's got to come in too eventually. And people are saying, maybe you go with the Zillows, and maybe that's a way to play that way. But I mean, and that's the other argument, is they've held those spreads, the real estate, so maybe the crypto can hold the spreads. But this is simpler. It's lower hanging fruit. As more exchanges start trading, there's going to be, with the ways that they're going to get flow is by offering tighter spreads. And I believe that is coming. And that's why I just cannot stomach Coinbase, not only for the valuation, but because I believe some competition is coming.
Yeah, that's a great point about the real estate spreads there, because that has not been disrupted.
No.
But if anything's going to do it, it's the blockchain, theoretically, right? So
I think it will eventually. I think you do see, like, they have, like, in Canada, they have like purple bricks, and they have some, discount. But people still, when they're selling their house, they want to go with the big real estate. And the one thing is, you do get some value when you go through a real estate agent, because, they're marketing it. They're spending money on marketing and spending thousands of dollars. Like when we did our show, they brought in a stager even, like they spent that on their buck. Yeah. So we didn't pay for that. Obviously, we did, through the commission. But I mean, they're picking up 2.5 on their end. They probably spent 1.5 to market the house. So I mean, it isn't like it's just 2.5 and it's all gravy. Sometimes I'm sure they get some easy deals. And if you're on the buyer side, it's obviously a lot easier deal. But on the seller side, they're working a little bit for that money. I tell you, my real estate agent did a great job. Worked it for me when I sold my house back in October.
All right, so let's do this. If you want us to do a Saturday night live Dogecoin show, hit the like button on YouTube.
Oh my goodness, you're gonna make me work Saturday night. My wife's gonna kill me.
Hit the like button if you want to see a Saturday night Dogecoin Elon Musk.
It's called Dogecoin.
SNL whatever show, and then we will consider it if we get to call 800 likes today. We do have an NFT mover today, guys. SJ is your ticker. SignJoy. It's a Chinese streaming company. They're launching NFTs on their platform. SJ is your ticker, up 35% here.
Yeah, this is a headline grabber that they just issued the headlines. Like, how can we get the stock price? No, I don't know that for sure. But SJ, let's go look at what the headline says. Ryan Joy becomes one of the first live streaming platforms in mainland China to offer non-fungible tokens, NFTs. They even put in brackets just so you make sure you know what that is. So it gets the pop. The algos grab that, like NFT algo, boom, 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 up 35%. It's a nice pop. It actually did have one of these headlines back in April, because we have precedents here already. The stock popped from 10 to 18 back in April for some reason.
Well, I guess this headline is like a follow through from it. I guess the same thing, but
so we've already knew this was an NFT play then. Yeah, go back here to April. What day was that? April the 6th. So
they announced a strategic alliance with the companies Interactive to explore NFT rewards, basically. So this is
all right. So one, we already knew this was an NFT play. The market's giving it a ridiculous amount of love again. My personal opinion, I don't follow the stock. It's the first time I've looked at it, but you've already seen a pop and you saw it give it back on the initial headline. The second headline is usually never better. So I don't know what it's done pre-market here, but I would not be chasing this one. I'd expect it, honestly, not to give it all back immediately, but I'd be cautious chasing these. And a lot of these other NFT plays have petered out to a certain extent. They might start getting some love again, but a lot of these that were moving a month ago have started to not do as well. So I'd be careful with this one.
It's up $3.40 at 1310. That's 34.64%. 1,100,000 shares have traded.
Whoa, hello.
What are your thoughts, Joel?
It is trading up 3.36. It's trading up 330 at 13 even. Yeah. It's up 33%.
I personally, if I own this, and this is just my opinion, I would sell it if I owned it. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. So I'll probably never look at the stock again, but I'm sure some people on Twitter will point out if I'm wrong. If I'm right, nobody will point that out. Next.
You want to know what's in the midst of a record winning streak right now? The Dow Transports.
Oh, I know. It's been unreal.
All-time record.
It was like 10 or 11 weeks it's been up?
12 weeks it's been
Holy.
up.
12 times?
Yeah.
So 12 times?
Whether you want to go to like the IYT, which is your one ETF that does it. There's like it's all the railroads, and it's like Avis Budget, which we've talked about, and it's UPS, right? And it's all those types of companies. And some airlines too. FedEx is in there. But yeah, man, transport's been crushing it.
Wow. I don't even know what to say. Did we get some news? Oh, durable goods. Yeah, because I just went sold. So it must have got some news. Thanks.
Durable goods were in line. I don't know.
It's called getting picked off while you do a radio show. It's an awesome feeling. Sold. Okay, sorry. I digress. What were we talking about before I got picked off by all the HFT algos?
Transports.
Yes, the transports.
Railroads, UPS.
That's been the argument every time I try to put a bearish tweet out there. I'm left with everybody saying the transports, but the transports. I mean, yeah, they've been unbelievable. Let's look at that IYT here right now. New all-time highs. That stock chart speaks for itself, and you can just look at the IYT components. Actually, should we go do that? It'd be a helpful exercise. Let's go do.
I just kind
grab them all, bring them up, the high IYT components, so we know which stocks have been performing the best and which stocks have been leading the way. I can guess which stocks right now, but we won't guess. We'll just look at the top 5 components. Obviously, Kansas City Southern is number 1, and it's in play, so not surprising. Then you got Norfolk Southern, which is making new highs. You got 2 rails leading the way, and then FedEx and UPS are 3 and 5, and FedEx has stalled out a little bit, but UPS is trying to make new highs. And then, slow and behold, the 4th one is another rail. So basically, you can say the transports are hot, but in the IYT, it's 40% rails, at least the top 5 components, and they are, is that right, 22? No, 30% rails, and the rails have been hot as hell. So not surprising. So you could say it's more of a rail rally than a transport rally. Rails hot.
Well, it's not like the rest of it hasn't been as hot too. I mean, like the airlines have been. Maybe we should talk airlines a little bit, but the airlines have been.
Airlines are very small in the IYT. People think about them in there, and they are in there. But LUV 2.5%, UAL 2.1%. If you're buying the IYT, you are buying the rails. 1, 2, 3, and CSX. I'm just looking at the top 10 components. There's 4 rails in there that I can just see right there. And then you got Trucker JB Hunt. So it's Rider Systems is up there. Somehow Avis budget is in there. I don't really consider
Avis
it. I guess
budget has been.
I know it's been a monster, but I don't really. I don't think of that as a transport. But I guess it transports people, right?
Transports people. Yeah. Oh my God, that stock has been ridiculous.
Well, they lost all the competition with Hertz, and everybody thinks that we're all going on vacation and we all need rental cars because nobody's taking Ubers.
They compete with Uber and a Lyft.
How in the heck is Avis budget that? Steve Grasso, man. Props to Grasso, who is pitching this thing out here for years. Finally, holy mackerel. Grasso ended up being right. I hope he was hodling that one. 83.25. Grasso. We should get Steve Grasso on the show.
We can reach out.
I don't know if he's got a exclusive, though. He probably does because he's on CNBC all the time.
We can reach out.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk Tesla real fast before we bring Tim on? But they're the big report tonight. After the close.
Yeah, again, so this trade works. Buy ahead of the report, buy over the weekend, and it works. It's up $8 here, so you're up 1% already. Again, that trade is buy a day or two ahead of the report, sell before the report. We don't like to hold through the report because we don't want the coin flip of the report, but it's getting the predictable lift ahead of the report this morning. So that's all I have to say. Joel has one silent. Joel's mad at me though, so
no. Tesla is currently trading up $8.10 at 737.50. That's 1.11%.
Tim?
Yeah, let's do it. It is 80:35 on a Monday, which means it is time.
Ready to do my dance
for Market Structure Monday. Tim Quast.
That's my bushwhacker dance. Remember the bushwhackers? Tim, do you remember the bushwhackers? They'd come in.
I don't.
You don't remember? You didn't watch WWF back in the day? The bushwhackers, they'd come in like this. Boom, 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 boom. They were great, man. The bushwhackers.
I don't have enough rhythm to be able to do that. So
I have no rhythm.
Fortunately, you do.
No, I have none.
Good to see you guys. It does appear that Joel has nodded off.
I know. He hasn't been talking. He's mad at me though, Tim. That's why.
I'm sorry to hear that. Wait, Joel, we need you. We need you.
No,
we need the energy.
This market's so easy, Tim. It just goes up. We got a bunch of geniuses in here. What do you have for us, Tim? I want to ask you about month end.
Yeah,
you got anything? Any month end trends for me?
Well, as you know, because you guys are market structure fans, that we always pay attention to month end because there's a giant futures contract that expires on the last trading day of each month. So the SIBO, the Chicago Board of Options Exchange, created this thing in 2014 to help indexes true up their tracking. So if you're not tracking the benchmark, suppose you're running a fund that wants to outperform the S&P 500 or track it. Maybe that's better. We want to track the S&P 500. Well, if you have 2% variance, you get jettisoned from all of the marketing materials because that's a tracking error that is too great. So solution, a futures contract. So you pay Goldman Sachs. Think about Archegos Capital and what happened here. It's similar to that. You pay Goldman Sachs to help you track the measure so that you don't have to go buy little bits and pieces of 500 different things. Instead, Goldman Sachs will do that for you. And they just promise you that they will eliminate your tracking error and you pay them a fee. And this is what's happening to the tune of trillions upon trillions of dollars. And so then, we have a third of the S&P 500 reporting results this week, and everybody thinks that the market is all about how these companies are performing financially, and really the $20 trillion of assets at BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street are all thinking about, well, am I tracking the measure? And people just miss that. So that's why we pay attention. And we'll see this developing by Wednesday. And which direction will things go? Well, that's a bigger question. Where is the market? It's very challenging. I wish I'd heard a little bit more of your conversation about it, because I'd be curious to hear what you think. Dennis, what do is the market capable of continuing to rise, or are we going to hit an inflection point?
I don't know. It's hard to let's argue with it. It just finds rotations, the rotation that keeps it up. I mean, we lose sectors, and then another rotation picks up the slack. I mean, even when we were losing the tech sector severely there, you had consumer staples picking up, and the transports have been nonstop up, like we've been talking about. The rails really leading the way there. It's hard to argue with the S&Ps when they start making new highs again, and that's what they're trying to do. So I don't know. It's been the best. It's been the most consistent place to be, really, is SPY. It's not making you 20% or 30% a week like some of these smaller stocks, but just steady wins the race. And the turtle is starting to look okay.
Well, and it's an opportunity to make a point, as I always like to do, about exchange traded funds again. So people suppose that an ETF has to track the benchmark. It's going to have to own all the things in the basket. Well, at some point, that will be a requirement. The interesting thing is, if you look at the statements of additional information for ETFs, it's a regulatory requirement. Nobody reads them, but I do. So generally, ETFs have 60 days after the end of the quarter to actually post their positions. So if the transports are doing well, I could use transports to track the S&P 500. If tech's doing well, I can use tech. I don't have to use the stuff that's not performing well. I can guarantee you BlackRock isn't putting in the basket stuff that's not performing well, except to get rid of it. And so we look at the market, everybody's all thrilled about value or this thing or that thing. Well, if that's in the basket, it's going to get attention. That doesn't necessarily help you traders. I'm sure that you want to know, well, what about Tesla ahead of results? I know you were talking about Tesla. That's probably more germane for a trader. But I think these are important things to understand so that you don't misunderstand how the market works today. So, should we look at Tesla?
Yes.
Let's look at it.
Yes.
We should, and I saw that you had AVAH up there too. We should look at that. I mean, the market structure will always show you what is going on, and traders go to marketstructureedge.com. You can do this with me. You can go whatever you like. Go look at it and see it in terms of market structure, because it's, to me, the most important thing. If it didn't work, I wouldn't talk about it. It does work. It will almost always tell you what is occurring. I happen to have AVAH up here. This is how we look at the data. So marketstructureedge.com, you can sign up. You can, it's free. You don't have to use a credit card. This is AVAH. And there are two things that we think about. Market structure sentiment, which is simply the waxing and waning of supply and demand on a 10-point scale. Above 5, things tend to do better. Below 5, they tend to do worse. And it's very simple to see. When sentiment peaks and begins to come down, stocks don't perform well. And when sentiment rises, the stock does better. The curious thing here about AVAH is look at how short it is. I mean, it's crazy. I would be out because of that. If 3/4 of the trading volume is coming from borrowed stock, if demand falters at all, the stock's going down. Too much supply, not enough demand. And so you would look at it from a technical standpoint and say, well, that's a great stock. No, it's not. So if you're up in AVAH, get out, because look how high short volume is over trend. It's crazy.
I overbought. The stock has doubled in a month and a half. This isn't the reinvention. This is AVAH's budget. This is a rental car company.
Right.
I mean, I can't like, when I just look at the fundamentals, I look at the chart and I go, what?
Yep.
That's kind of what I look at. I kind of go, what? Isn't Uber and Lyft? But I guess this is the classic reopening trade, and people are piling in there saying, we're all renting cars because we're all going on vacation, and we all aren't going to use Uber and Lyft apparently when we go on vacation, because Avis Budget Group is marching here, and we don't have Hertz as much, as even though it's still operational.
Right.
So I don't know what it's going though. Great ticker symbol.
It is a great ticker symbol. I think these are look. I'll come back to short volume again. Massive short squeeze, right? The first part of April. Shorted a little bit into options expirations, huge covering. That tells me that everybody bet long on calls, and now that trade is over. But this is the cause. Those movements from long to short are crazy. I don't think it has anything to do with fundamentals. I think it is It principally, this is the Citadels and Hudson River Tradings of the world who know that there isn't enough supply and that they can fluctuate supply by going long and short. They can do it. They're exempt from the short locate rules. And this is what happened. And it's happening at an accelerated pace. It's very interesting to see that. And so active money is the last party to show up. So stock pickers now think, oh, this is awesome, but they're too late. They're too late. And so often that happens to stock pickers. Look at Tesla. You know, here's Tesla. And there's not a good trend in this whole group. So, you know, you think about all the people reporting this week, Twitter, Netflix, Facebook, Google, Microsoft, Apple, AMD, they're all reporting. There's not an uptrend in the group. It's really curious. There are a couple of bottoms, AMD and Google. But if you look at Tesla, you know, it's not that it's bad, but it's not where you would buy a stock. Here's where you buy. You buy when sentiment ticks above 5. Now there's more demand than supply. And short volume is very, very low. See here where it was very high, stock, that caused the stock to dip. Then everybody covered, boom, up goes the stock. It's a 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, ticks down. I would leave. The short volume is very good. Doesn't mean that the stock's going to go down. But generally speaking, this is just an oversimplification. 80% of the returns are going to happen on the way up to 10. They're not going to happen on the way back down to 5.
Not for sliding.
Exactly. So if I were choosing, I would say, no, the opportunity's gone. Let's go find something else. I bought Illumina and Zoom last week, and I also sold
Zoom.
Oh, I did. Zoom. So we could look at those, right? So let's add those. Let's see. Do I have that in here? I don't, but it doesn't take long. Here, let's look at these, and I'll tell you why I bought them. In fact, Let's do it this way. So this is the back testing engine called Profiler. This will tell you whether you can get a return or not. So I'm just going to hit the default, which is 5-5, called the 5-5 rule. Buy as it comes over 5, sell when it returns to 5. I don't tend to stay that long because that cycle, you know, the cycle tends to be 13 days. I like about half that amount of time. So you would look at this and say, well, 8% return in 90 trading days, that's not interesting. If I bought and held it, it's 20%. Yeah, but look at this. This is what I looked at. I went, okay, what happens when it ticks over 5? Well, it went from 366 to 370. I'm okay with that. You know, the next time, how about that? Well, it went from, here, let me go back here. So it went from 384 to 384. All right, well, that doesn't help me. How about the next one? And I'm after probabilities. 391 I'm looking at the wrong one. 409 to 429. That's what we want to look at right there. 404 to 421. That's what I want. Can I do that in 2 or 3 days? That's all I cared about. I own both of them for 2 days. That's it. And I made a nice return and I left. So that's what I look for. What happens when something rises above 5? That matters to me. And both of those, you know, they're from a sentiment standpoint. Now, I'm not going to buy and hold them. But from a trading perspective, if I go test the data and I see that there's a probability that within 2 or 3 days it rises 5%, I'm taking that. And that's the kind of market I think that we have right now. It's a very curious market. And here's what I mean.
Curious, I like that. I've never heard that analogy for the market. Curious, I like that. Curious
well,
market.
and if you missed church yesterday, you can even get that here on Market Structure Monday.
Oh, great!
So there's a curious little theological obscure reference in the Book of Revelation in the Bible about this city called Laodicea. And the author, John, says about this city, Laodicea, that it's neither hot nor cold, and he wishes it would be one or the other. And the market is very much like that. It's neither hot nor cold. And a market that is not hot nor cold is a dangerous market. And here's how we look at it. See, here's broad market sentiment. So generally speaking, this is the only oddity here is this is the Archegos Capital blow up. And it did affect the data. But generally speaking, when the market tops, you want to take some money off of the table. When it bottoms, you put it back in. That's what I did last week, a little bit, half. But I look at this and say, is it going to go up or down? If it's a weak top, we are in trouble. this will be a serious move down for the market. I'm not saying yet that that's the case. I need a little more data, but I'm watching that. And if it's a weak top, what does that mean? Well, it means that all that institutional money hasn't come back into the market. And if everything's short and there's no money coming in, what happens to the market? It tips over. I'm not predicting that. I'm just watching that and saying, it's kind of like Laodicea. It's neither hot nor cold. So we'll see.
Got a new word for our vocabulary here.
Exactly.
I don't even know how to spell it, but it's in the chat, and I'm assuming that they've got it right. So Tim Quast is the founder and CEO of Market Structure Edge, joins us every Monday to oh wait, we didn't really go too deep into Tesla. Can we just maybe go back to that for 1 second?
Sure. Yeah. So if looking at Tesla, it's an 8 out of 10. And once again, traders, where do you want to buy something? You want to buy it when sentiment is rising, so you have increasing demand. Tesla
so when it goes from like a 2
falling.
to a 3, what are you looking at, Tim? When it goes from like a 1 to a 2, a 2 to a 3, when are you really striking using your indicators?
It will be one of 3 things: an uptick. So any uptick, rising off of 1,
rising off of 1
and 3, and 5. So here, I look at short volume. Right here at the end of March, short volume was pretty high. So am I going to buy a 1 or the uptick from 1? No. But when short volume came down and it ticked above 5, there's your spot. So see, short volume is right in line with trend, and sentiment rose over 5. There's your opportunity. Then when sentiment begins to decline, leave. So right now, rather than buying Tesla, I would be selling it. Even though short volume is very, very low. Short volume is 40%. Tesla routinely is over half of its volume is short. So that's very low. And you'd say, well, isn't that a bullish signal? No, it's not, because demand is diminishing. Now, look, it doesn't mean it can't go up further, but I would take my gains in Tesla.
All right, go ahead and smash the like button for Tim Quast, Market Structure Edge, for Market Structure Mondays. Tim, always a pleasure. Thank you,
Good to
sir.
see you.
Thanks, Tim.
Next week. All right. I do want to do ticker time, but I don't want to do it until we get to 500 legs. We're almost there, but we're not quite there yet. So until we get to 500 likes, no ticker time today.
Okay, I just liked you, so I'm helping it out.
All right. Do you guys want to know what the next cheap headline is to juice your stock? It's not NFTs. NFTs is old news.
What is the new one?
It's we now accept Bitcoin as a payment method.
Oh man, who's doing it now?
Camping World, baby.
Are you kidding me?
PWH, you want to buy an RV? Use Bitcoin.
And it's up 3% on that.
Yeah.
This is just you're not going to continue to see this trade get the pickup that it does. Like, oh, they're accepting Bitcoin. I remember Square was one of the first to do it, and it popped like 5% that day. And then PayPal did it. And then, we've had a number of companies do it since. And, it's been a little bit, not as pronounced. Now, it's moving up here. It's up 3%. But, I mean, who cares? This has really changed the fundamentals. One,
Of course
how
not.
much of the percentage of the population is actually going to pay with Bitcoin?
I said
And
it was-
I'm saying it's significantly less than 1% at this time. Significantly
No
less.
one's going to why would you just hold it forever? Why would you want to use
But
it?
not
to
even
buy
that.
an
It's just so
IFBD?
volatile. I mean, okay, I'm trying to pay with Bitcoin, and then
Yeah,
okay, well, I got to go
that's
look at my
nice.
coin
Yep.
before I got to go look at my Coinbase account. No, I'd rather pay in dollars at this time because your Bitcoin exchange rate sucks. I mean, as a merchant, how are you even going to do it? You have to do it so wide that it's never going to be, very advantageous to pay in Bitcoin, because they're going to have to put it way below it to be able to limit that risk, because otherwise you get people like me that'll come in and pay with Bitcoin because, oh, it's way cheaper. I'm going to always be looking and analyzing that. You're going to have people doing that. So I don't know. I just don't see it as an efficient way of transacting. And obviously you get people like, Pomp on Twitter, maybe they do see the way. I don't see the way for it. So I don't see the way that we're all going to be transacting in Bitcoin. I see it as a story. I see it as something that isn't going away. Maybe the store of value holds. I mean, I own some Bitcoin, but I don't see it as a means for transaction. I really don't.
Yeah, I said it was a cheap headline. All right, we did get to 500 likes. So let's do some ticker times.
Before
here.
we do that, do you guys know where AVAH was founded? AVAH Rent-A-Car?
Monroe, Michigan.
You got the Michigan part, right?
I throw Monroe, Michigan.
That's Lazy Boy Chairs and Monroe Shock Absorbers. It was founded in
Isn't Kellogg Monroe too?
It's
Battle Creek. Come on, you
That's
should know
close.
that. It was founded in 1946 with 3 cars at Willow Run Airport.
Really?
Yeah.
Where's that?
You don't know where Willow? It's out near Ypsilanti. It's like when some of the the big private planes come in, they go to Willow Run.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Interesting. I thought.
Let's start with AM. We were asked about AMC a while back in the chat. AMC. We haven't talked about it for a while on the show. For whatever it's worth, we got the Oscars last night. Cool. So movies are on my mind anyway. But thoughts on this AMC chart here?
I want to be bearish. And the chart just doesn't allow me to be bearish. And it's now perking up again. The stocks that won't go away, GameStop and AMC. I mean, they talk about dilution, diluting the float by 100%, and they still don't go down on that news. I mean, it's tough. This reopening story / Reddit story has continued to keep the stock up, hold the line, whatever it is. The stock just does not want to go down. I wouldn't want to be shorted. I'm not going long it because it's AMC, but man, that chart actually looks pretty good. I don't mind the chart at all. What do you think, Joel? Just from a chart.
Oh, super neutral here.
Yeah, it's a time to strike. You're at the station.
Yeah,
I mean, you can make a call.
Neutral. I mean, look at this. I mean, there's a trading range since the middle of March. So keep an eye on the trading range. See if it tries to break out of the top of the trading range or breaks through the bottom. But real quiet. I mean, what's the range on Friday? We had a 42-cent range. So starting coverage with a neutral.
What about Roku here?
Go, Joel.
It's trying. Major resistance just under 400. I don't know. Major support. I don't know. I call that 340 there. There's only one low there, but right in between there now, 340 and 400.
You got it. Yeah, you need to hold. They're a nice little double bottom from the last 2 days. I'd lean on that. 346, 347. If you're long 360, it's 13 points up. I'd rather have a little pullback, but it's consolidating. The chart looks okay to me. Looks okay. It's expensive stock though.
Man, that's 2 stocks and 2 neutrals, more or less.
Yeah, we didn't give him much opinions here.
Yeah. What about Dino? Airbnb, please.
Oh, man. All these charts, Joel, in the middle of nowhere. This is tough technical Monday here. Got to get above 180 to get interesting. Needs to get above 180, and it starts to get more interesting. It's perking up a bit. It stopped going down the last few days. But again, you're in a value market, and Airbnb, not a ton of value, although I love the story. And if I was going to buy growth stock, this might be one of them.
It has a nice little trend going here of 2 higher highs, higher lows, and higher closes, and it had a nice streak here. It did the same thing, lower highs. So keep that intact, and maybe a couple more days, and then it seems like it maybe get a little bit tired. But coming up off this low and looks nice. I do see. I'll go a little bit above 180 there. 180, 150 looks like pretty good resistance to me.
Here's one that I confess I did not know this company was public. SVB, do you guys know that? SIVB is your ticker. SVB Lyric. I didn't even know it was a public company.
What are you going with? SVB?
SVB, yeah.
SIVB. I trade it sometimes. It's really widespread. It's tough because of $560 stock.
Right.
It's a nice breakout stock. I don't know if they reported, didn't they? Didn't they just report?
Yes, they did last week.
Yeah, so I follow it.
What's the symbol again, Spencer?
SIVB.
SIVB.
$564 stock. It's a tough one to trade because it's thin and wide. I mean, that's where I get these $500 stocks and the spreads are tough, man. They're wide. I know you can go and say on percentage basis, oh, it's not that bad, but man, when you get these, it's an illiquid financial. It is tough to trade that stock.
Looks digest that bar from Friday. You got the all-time closing high 564.22. Like I said, new all-time high on Friday. Let's just keep improving on that all-time closing high. Big old bar, and it was nice on Friday. The previous day's high was just right about the low there. So they're at 530, major support. See if it can make a new all-time closing high again.
All right, someone's asking about Neo. I forget who it was. I'm sorry. In the chat.
Perking up, breaking the downtrend above 40. It looks okay. This looks okay too. It's starting to show some life. You got nice support down to 34 to 35, which we talked about this about a week ago. We were talking about the 34, 35 area, and I was saying if it was going long, I'd stop myself out on that area. I guess I wish I would have went long because it's probably up $3 or $4 since we were talking about it. That's your clear support. It's trying to break the downtrend, which is good too. EV story is starting to pick it up a little bit as well. Growth is trying to come back here a bit. I just don't know if it's a trap or not. So it's still in a clear downtrend.
April 1st, it had a high of 42.06. That's currently where you're trading at. So needs to hold 42 to get up here. I'd see another high above 42 at 43.11. So holding 42 pretty important for NIL.
Let's go back and forth with me and Joel on just to get a few more in. So Joel, you can take the next one.
All right, Alex Mendez asking about Casper. They called an upgrade this morning from Wedbush to outperform, raising the price target to $10.50. CSPR.
Whatever this is major resistance, 780. Has to get to 780.
Dennis, what about Plug? I'm going to give you Plug.
Showing life. I looked at it on Friday, starting to show a little bit of life here. I actually was looking at Ballard Power as well. I trade these three together, FCEL, Ballard Power, and Plug. All are perking up a little bit. Again, you can say the same thing with Neo. It's all the EV play. These all move together. It stopped going down, but the trend is still not your friend. Plug gets above 30. It gets more interesting. I just get scared. It just perks its head above 30 and then suckers a few longs and then continues a downtrend. It's always hard fighting the trend, and the trend is still clearly down and a lot of bag holders in there. So I want to be bullish, but it's tough.
Hey, Spencer, I know you got a 9 o'clock guest here. I just got a really nice email over the weekend from one of our listeners. And basically what he said, he started listening to the show last March, Alan, and he's paid off his house listening to Benzinga's pre-market prep. And he's in the sports memorabilia business, and he knows I'm a Detroit fan. And Dennis, you're going to be so jealous here. I'm going to show you what he is sending me here.
I know it's a David McConnor thing, isn't it?
No, it's not Connor McDavid. Let's see here. This is going back a ways, but good old a Red Wing from a long time ago.
Long time ago.
Do you know who that is? Do you know who that is?
Let me see.
That looks like Konstantinov.
Exactly.
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah, he was a menace to play against. I'm a huge hockey fan, and he was one of the toughest customers out there. Very hard to play against. He would have had a long career still playing. Like, he wouldn't be still playing now, but he would have had a lot better career, longer career if obviously the accident would have never happened. Great player, part of the Fabulous Five, Konstantinov.
The Russian Five. The Fab Five was the Michigan. Yeah, the Russian Five. You know what the Fab Five. But no, just big thanks to Alan. And I know I get on the chat sometimes, but I know there's some really nice people out there. We're helping you out with your
absolutely hated when the Oilers played against Konstantinov.
That's awesome. Player. That's awesome, though. You paid off your house. That's tremendous.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Maybe you can give Dennis some advice on that.
I think so.
Doesn't even have
I'm never going to pay off my house, I don't think, with the lumber prices here.
So
I know. I don't. Yeah. Just,
all right. If you want more ticker time, go ahead and smash that like. Maybe we'll do like a whole show devoted to. I know we've talked about that in the past, just doing a whole show, just tickers. Although that's kind of what the At the Close show is anyway. But if you haven't already, hit the like button, guys. Also hit subscribe. You get notified whenever we go live. And check out our new YouTube channel, Benzinga Clips. It's where we post highlights from our shows like this one. Not the whole show, just highlights, just snippets, the best parts. are on Benzinga clips. So check it out. I just put the link in the chat right there. All right, let's talk IPOs, guys. I want to bring on Matt Hammond. I'll say goodbye.
I've got to go.
Yep, and I want to bring on Matt Hammond from IPO Warriors here. And Matt, good morning. Let's talk some IPOs here. How are you doing today? Oh, wait, you're on mute. Check your mic. Maybe in StreamYard. Check your mic settings. Could be your headset as well. Interestingly enough, while Matt does that, I did read that last week was the first week of the year where we didn't have a single SPAC listing. Can you imagine? I mean, that stat, performance notwithstanding, that stat I think speaks volumes. Is we were basically averaging like a SPAC a day, right? And we had no SPACs last week. Matt, oh, I thought I heard you there. Guess I didn't. This is weird. There we go.
Hey, what's up, guys? Hey,
You're very quiet though. You're very quiet. Maybe do the old unplug it, plug it back in trick is what I usually do. Works for me. Not really. It's a shame because you know I know you've got a lot of picks for us, and
Is that any better?
it's a little better. I can turn you up on my end. It's a little better, I think. Let's see what I can do on my end here. All right, let's try this. Say something.
Testing.
All right, we're gonna go with this, and I'm gonna jack you on my end. All right,
Speak as loud as I can then.
go for it.
All right. So yeah, we have just come off of 2-week blitz of IPOs. We had, I think, 12 the week before, and I think we had about 7 or 8 last week. And some of the biggest plays, of course, we had the big boys with Coinbase and UiPath.
Yep.
Coinbase is still way in the red for anyone who held past that initial dip, but there was a pretty good pop right off the start, of those of you who recall. And UiPath got a big boost from Cathie Wood. She bought up huge positions across 5 of her funds, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But the biggest plays continue to be these kind of low float, almost meme plays, in the sense that people get a hold of them. And we saw first with UTME, and then we saw eBet, and then we saw Infobird this last week. And these low float with only take a little bit of hype, really, and they just blow up. And we'll jump into, I think, first the recap of last week. Talk a little bit about how to trade just about any of these IPOs, regardless of whether they're well-hyped, unknown, or known. There's just seem to be opportunities across the board here. And let's take a look at what happened last week. Infobird, we had 60% possible gain in the first few minutes. It just took off like a rocket into 3 halts. UiPath was a little bit more predictable and more of a steady win over 2 days. It did kind of the 2-day run. And then No B4, which I kind of sat out on, ended up being a pretty good win opportunity, simply because people saw, oh, it's cybersecurity, it must be good. We've seen Cloudflare, we've seen a few of these, cybersecurity IPOs do really well. And I think people just didn't want to miss the boat on this one, even though all it really is a sort of tutorial or, corporate memo of, hey, don't open phishing emails. But it fills a niche that companies need, and people saw cybersecurity, and it ended up doing pretty well. So Infobird was the biggest play. I took a really nice win on this one. And even though it was offered on Webull through Click IPO, I only got a partial fill. And that's turned out to be a pretty good indicator of demand. I did a allocation request for UiPath through E-Trade, and they didn't give me any shares. When they do that, or when you only get a partial fill, it's a pretty good sign that a lot of people are requesting it, a lot of people are looking at it. And if you do get a full fill, that's maybe a sign that you want to get out right away or not play the IPO, because it means there's not too much demand. Infobird opened up at $7. It went up through 3 halts. Halts are tricky to play because you can't really set a stop loss very effectively, and they can halt so far down. It's not a bad play to have a stop loss just in case to protect downside, but what I really like to do is take partial exits out of each halt. So I put in for 1,300 shares. At the first halt, I took out 300 shares. After the second halt, take out half. After the third halt, you might go for a little bit of a sky play, but you had a lot of opportunities in those halts to figure out what you want to do, to reduce your risk, to take profits. And this turned out to be a pretty straightforward, nice profit win. However, you've got on the other side another low float that people were talking about was Troika Media Group. And this is where I want to talk a little bit about how to mitigate the downside, because I ended up taking a win on this, even though it pretty much opened up and dropped. But what it did do is it did jump into a halt at 10%. So you were in a position to take half of your wins right out of the halt. I didn't have a ton of confidence in this one, so I didn't just take a small position out of the halt. I decided to take 50% out of the initial halt. And then I put a stop loss just above my entry at 380. So when it came down, we're lucky because it didn't just immediately tank. It didn't elevator down. It did kind of the opposite of what a lot of these do. A lot of them take the escalator up and the elevator down. This one took the elevator up and then give you a pretty nice opportunity to get out with a stop loss without too much slippage, without too much damage, and I ended up taking a pretty, nice little win, which I rather refer to as a non-loss, because as I've said many times before, play enough of these without taking big losses, and you're going to be in position to take some big wins, and you're going to line up a bunch of smaller wins along the way. We'll take a look at some of the other kind of one more to review is UiPath was a pretty clear winner ahead of time, just because it has so much growth. We talked about this one last week and put a focus on it, that it was getting a lot of industry attention. It has huge revenue growth, it's a growth company that probably last year would have debuted at 80 or 100% above the IPO price. So this one debuted at about, I think the IPO price was at 46 and it debuted at 65.50, which is not insane. And this gave me a bit of confidence to hold through this initial choppiness. Sometimes these don't just run up out of the gate, but if you have confidence in your play, you can end up holding and being all right with it. There are some people who really like to keep a strict rule of, hey, if I take a stop loss more than 5%, I'm just going to get out no matter what. When I have confidence in a play, I will usually let it run, and we'll see a few examples where having that confidence ended up paying off better than maybe being a little bit too conservative. In this case, we had an opportunity, and this is where it depends on your confidence level in a stock, how you want to play this. The initial bet is, or the initial hypothesis you're playing on is the initial spike. And with UiPath, we got that initial spike. It took a little bit of time to get kind of warmed up out of the gate, but then we had a pretty good opportunity to, you set a stop loss here on the first big candle, maybe right at the initial peak, somewhere in here to give yourself a chance to let it run and protect yourself in case it does reverse. But then it runs up to here. You're setting your stop losses in here. I tend to look at big numbers so that if it's at 64, I know that there's going to be some resistance at 70. And you can see this in the level 2 orders. And those big numbers, 70s, 80s, multiples of 10, multiples of 5, but really multiples of 10 tend to act as a sort of resistance level. And I'll start to tighten up my stop loss at that, 650. Once it gets past that, if you don't think it's going to break out past 70, you kind of get out there and you say, okay, that's a good win. In a low confidence play, you might take your whole win at that point. With a high confidence play, you might only take 50% out and say, okay, well, let's let the rest run. And then you're not really going to pay attention to, you're kind of expecting this dip. Some people might try to buy in here. I didn't see a clear re-entry point. We still had RSI well above 30. We didn't get below VWAP. And you're going to just let that ride until, usually until day 2. That's your next hypothesis, that we're going to get an overnight media cycle, and that people are going to read about it, how it performed well, and come in on day two. I did try to get in again on this second dip. I saw it dip down. It was down, below our RSI 30 at VWAP. I started paying attention to it. I said, okay, well, if it gives me a real, if it gets below the initial entry of 65.50, then I'll get back in. I put my limit order at 65.80, and it reversed at about 66.40. So I didn't get back in. I wish I had, because as we will see, this was a day two runner, just as we forecast. And that overnight media cycle turned into pretty high demand the next day. The market also turned around a bit and got a bit hotter on Thursday. And we saw it peak up at 80. Again, big numbers. If you're looking at getting out of this, you probably want to try to get out at around 79.50, 79. You can expect a reversal around 80. It actually give you a triple top. It's held pretty well and has continued to hold. I think it's at 76 pre-market this morning. So UiPath was a strong stock, high growth, tech, automation, artificial intelligence, got a lot of buzzwords in it, and that gives you more confidence to stay in a trade longer than something where you think, oh, maybe it's at the top already, maybe it's hyped out, maybe people won't pay attention to it. So your own confidence, your own hypotheses will indicate how you want to play these trades. So Zymergen is a good example of how the second 2-day hold ended up bailing me out of a bag, but it also serves as a good lesson in terms of how to mitigate some of your losses when you are in a bag holding position. This one sounded more interesting to me than I guess the market actually believed it was. They engineer biology to create advanced synthetic materials, and they're creating some pretty game-changing compounds, including the films that are used in the foldable phones. And they've got, read through their website, they've got some groundbreaking stuff. Mosquito repellent that doesn't have the harmful toxins that are bad about which mosquito repellent doesn't sound that exciting, but it's a huge industry in the world because mosquitoes cause millions of deaths worldwide. And this one just bombed, and I decided to give it the day two hold. And the reason is a lot of times we see day two comebacks, day two rallies. And in this case, when it started to come back, I started trimming my position and basically saying, okay, well, if I bought 1,000 shares, I'm going to take out 200 with an initial stop loss here, got stopped out at around 38.50. Another stop loss took me out at 39.50. I was in at 40.30, so I'm not really taking big losses here. And I gave it a chance it came here and then all of a sudden died, but it came back into the green. And now I've said, okay, well, I'm going to hold a little bit longer and see if I can get out tomorrow with a win. So sometimes you got to know when to hold them, Kenny Rogers. Sometimes you got to run away, but I like to give it the second day on something that I have a level of confidence in. A couple others that ended up offering pretty solid win opportunities, but I didn't have a lot of confidence at the beginning. So what I did was, instead of enter the trade with a limit order above the indication price. So when we're watching the indication price, that's before the stock starts trading on the stock exchange. And you can actually see this price in Benzinga Pro. It's one of the greatest things about Benzinga Pro is being able to see the indication price of an IPO stock before it starts trading. So in this case, I was able to see that the indication price for SKYT was going to open at around, I think this one opened at, can't remember exactly. Point being, I ended up undercutting it. So I put my limit in below the indication price and let it run for a couple minutes, and I got into the trade.
Opened at 15.50.
15.50.
Yeah.
So I got in at about 14.95 or 14.90. I forget exactly, which is still not the bottom, but it is lower than the debut price. And then I held through this initial spike and made a good little, took a nice little win there. So on trades where you feel that the price might do this kind of wavering at the beginning, and you feel like, well, this is a microchip foundry with backing from the US government, and the US government is getting behind microchips. We have a microchip shortage. That's the kind of, this kind of buzzword, or as Money Mitch likes to say, the story behind the trade. The story is there's a microchip shortage. We need more microchips. Here's a company that makes the machines that make the microchips. So let's play this one, but I don't think it's just going to skyrocket. I think it's going to give me an opportunity to get in a little bit below the entry and then ride this either all the way for the day or take that initial scalp play. I didn't have a ton of confidence, so I just took and there were other trades I wanted to get into. So I just took this one. I think I set my stop loss after this candle right here and, took a nice little trade there. If you had a little more confidence, you wanted to let it run all day. I think now it's at 20.96. So this one was, when you have high confidence, you can let things run a little bit. We had the same thing with Latham Group. Swimming pools are hot. These guys are the leading manufacturer of swimming pool technology, hardware, in every category that they operate in. So there's a pretty good chance that people are going to catch on to this. Again, you buy this off of a little bit below the indication or the debut price and let it ride a little bit. I caught this one from 24.50 to 25.50. I just took a tiny little play on this one. Pretty much the same play as SKYT. But if you'd wanted to let this run all day, you would have been rewarded. And these are the kind of trades where a little bit of patience will pay off. It's not InfoBird. It's not eBet. You're not getting that 50% spike in the first half hour. You kind of got to let this one grow a little bit. But we're seeing we're seeing a good growth pattern in these IPOs. KNBE4 is a good example of a good opportunity that really just played off the buzzword cybersecurity. I don't particularly think that many people really understand that all this company really does is kind of help companies train their employees about phishing attacks. They have like they can send out, with this platform, you can send out simulated phishing attacks, which basically is sending fake phishing emails to your employees and see if they click the clickbait and enter in their passwords. And then you go back and say, hey, you're not fired, but don't do this again. And it's the kind of thing that could be handled in a 2-hour training session. But companies need to assure their shareholders, they need to tell people, hey, yeah, we're on top of this, we're taking it seriously. And I think more than anything, KNBE4 lets them do that in a way that adds confidence that they're not going to be exposed to phishing attacks, even if the service itself seems to me to be rather replicatable. And I don't know that you need to build a $100 million platform to do that. But people saw cybersecurity and they bought into this. And this was an E-Trade offering that I passed on. And people got partial fills, which kind of indicated that maybe there was at least some demand, but not super strong demand. And there are two ways to play this. You either play that initial spike and get out here. If you're really confident, get out 50% here, see if it runs at the end of the day, see if it runs into day two. If you did that, you would have been rewarded. So that's a little bit about looking at last week's IPOs and how to kind of play IPOs. And as we saw, they don't have to be mainstream. They don't have to be Coinbase. They don't have to be Snowflake. They don't have to be big names. If they have a little bit of either the low float hype to them, if they have some buzzwords in them, if they have Cathie Wood buying up a couple million shares on the second day, these are the kinds of things that you can make good money in a relatively short amount of time with some basic trading strategies that limit your downside and give you an opportunity to take profits if you're patient. So this week, we've got 6 IPOs, none that particularly stand out, but certainly a couple that I'll be dipping my foot in and seeing if I can take some profits on. This one doesn't seem too interesting to me. Aveanna Healthcare, it's in-home healthcare provider. nothing particularly sexy about it, but the boomers are getting old. People need to take care of it.
Demographically, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, and we have seen, we'll get to another one at the end here. We have seen some of these healthcare providers make kind of safe and steady IPO plays. It's not going to be a home run, so
yeah,
okay, maybe play it. But if there's something else, which there is, then I probably will pass on it.
Next.
Yeah, next. FTC Solar. This one's interesting. They do tracking systems and software for solar arrays. And this is very comparable to Array Technologies. They are competitors. And Shoals Technologies, which also does kind of infrastructure, not the actual solar cells, but the infrastructure behind the solar. Both of these did well on their IPOs, so I expect the trend to continue. FTC Solar is banking or is kind of pegging their name on their growth. They are not profitable, but when you see a company in growth mode, you don't necessarily expect or even want them to be profitable. Barclays underwritten IPOs have done pretty well. For example, Swim last Friday was a pretty good play and hold. And with just 18 million shares, I like these under 20 million shares for a solid company. I mean, you're not going to get 2 million or 3 million share floats on a serious business. You're going to get that on a kind of, on an eBet or a Infobird, the Chinese IPOs, or, it's hard to take a company too seriously when its valuation, like eBet, okay, esports and gambling, but its valuation is something like $600 million now. And they made, less than $1 million in revenue. So it doesn't make any sense. When you've got a company like FTCI with less than 20 million shares, solar's pretty hot. It's getting a lot of government support. They're growing fast. Recent IPOs in the solar sphere have done well. This one's interesting to me. Okay, so biotechs. Generally, sorry, Spencer, you have something?
Yeah, no, biotech IPOs are mixed bag.
Yeah, and my strategy for IPOs, biotech IPOs recently has shifted to wait and see if you have a huge dip well below RSI 30 and maybe play the rebound. Otherwise, they're definitely not something you want to be in for a long-term hold. There's almost no catalysts in the next, couple weeks. If they do start to go way up, they very quickly will issue more shares to raise more funding. As we saw, anyone who's in Ocugen saw that last Friday. Ocugen finally made a big run on India vaccine news. And, at 3 p.m., they announced that they're going to issue $100 million, fundraising. And the stock went from 13 down to 10. And it's recovered a little bit, but biotech is a tricky game to play. That doesn't mean that this one's not interesting, though. And the reason is the 2.77 million shares. And people have been, especially day traders, have been keying in on low float IPOs, regardless of what they do. And okay, this does nanoparticles, targets cancer, RNA, oncology company. It sounds cool. I just don't know anything about it. And other than the 2 million shares, otherwise I would probably just say, nah. If this was 10 million shares, I'd say no thanks. At 2.7 million shares, given what recent low float IPOs have done, why not? Throw your hat in the ring and see what happens. Protect that downside. And another note on this one, it is a click IPO offering. So okay. I put in a request on Webull, and we'll see if I get an allocation. If I get a full allocation, then, look out below, get out.
And you're one of the biggest shareholders because it's a low float. Let's get to Endeavor. Yeah. It's what people really want to hear about.
Yeah, sure. So Endeavor Group is the UFC company.
Yeah.
If you don't know what the UFC is, it's the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Started as a pretty rinky-dink. I watched UFC from the very beginning, and you go back and watch UFC 1. It's hilarious. It's, they had, it looked like pool noodles on top of a fence, and there was no weight classes. There was no time limit, and it was tournament style where you won, you fought again, the next guy an hour later. Now the UFC is one of the most popular and fastest growing sports entertainment venues in the world. It's global. It's perfectly situated for, betting. It's perfectly situated for things like even NFTs. It has a very loyal and dedicated following. And that's not the only thing that these guys own. They own Miss Universe. They own the Turkish NBA equivalent. And so basically they own a lot of content, and they own a lot of content in sports. Now, their company's been down a little bit because COVID has canceled a lot of events, as you'd expect. But they expect this to recover and be back on track as COVID, becomes more under control. It is interesting to notice that they failed an IPO in 2019, which means, okay, something was wrong then, but they fixed it now. It also means that people have been doing their research and studying it. And with a float of just 21 million shares, I like this one. I will definitely be playing this one off the debut, and probably will give it a 2-day run because I think a lot of people will overlook the fact that it's Endeavor Group. I'm kind of surprised they didn't get a better ticker like UFC or something.
Well, that's like only one part of their business. Their main part of their business is the talent agency. That's what Endeavor is. Historic. That's what they do. They're a talent and sports agency for executive for actors and everybody, whatever. But they just closed that UFC acquisition.
Right. So again, a lot of content, a lot of streaming. They have a lot of exposure in industries that are pretty hot, and I think that overnight, that kind of media cycle that we talk about sometimes, I think that will play into a day 2 run for Endeavor Group. So I believe that there will be headlines, UFC, owners, IPO pops in debut, something like that.
So it looks like the current value, this IPO will value them at $10 billion, and their failed IPO valued the company at, I just saw it, at $7.5 billion. So they're saying, I guess the acquisition of UFC is responsible in a large way for that
$2 billion bump,
$2.5 billion bump, maybe. But this one has a there's one has a red flag for me only because of the failed IPO 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So
no, I agree. There was one other, just in terms of kind of like safe and why not play, PRVA Health. It's just so similar to Agilon Health, which even though it was kind of choppy, gave you opportunity to pick off a bottom. Could have been played for a 15% win for a day 2. This one has a much smaller float. So if you're looking for something to play and you don't see anything else in the market, you want to play IPOs, I don't see a huge downside on this one because it's unlikely to debut as a premium. Nothing else on that day. But if you're still in an Endeavor hold, maybe you skip this one. But I do like to correlate some of these to other recent IPOs in the same space. And this one looks a lot like AGL, which turned out to be a reasonably good play.
All right. That was our opening bell, Matt, which means
got it. The stock market's on. We got to check this out.
The market is open. Matt Hammond, IPOwarriors.com is his website. It's up on the screen there. Matt, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks, Spencer. Talk to you then.
Right.
Cheers.
That's going to be a wrap for us here. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. Hit subscribe, whether it's to YouTube or to our Benzinga on YouTube or on your channel, Benzinga Clips. I want to mention a couple of big interviews we're having today throughout the day. We have on SPACs Attack another good executive interview. We'll have the CEO of Lottery.com. The SPAC they're merging with is TDAC. That'll be at 11:15 Eastern Time today. And then on Power Hour, we got the CEO of Vuzix, ticker VUZI, on at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. So some good-ones prepared for you today. Hit the like, hit subscribe, leave us a comment. I'm going to get technical with Neil Hamilton starting right now. Everyone have a good rest. There's our schedule. Everyone have a good open,